Look up. Get a taller chair.
You clicking on this video made my day. Thank you so much for that. My name is Skylar for those who don't know, and I'm actually a future Skylar doing this intro because I never could spit out a decent intro letting you know what me and my husband were doing in this video. So today's video is really exciting because I have my husband,
Jimmy's here.
Jimmy, and I wanted to see if I can scare him with some scary stories. Even though we're kind of well past Halloween, I'm just that kind of girl that likes spooky things throughout the whole entire year, and often Jimmy has to put up with that. He's very skeptical and just practical person in general. I never see him like kind of shaken by like a scary movie or like a scary story or anything like that. So I did some research, I did some digging on Reddit to see if I can come up with some stories that would ultimately really scare my husband. That is what you are about to witness. And so thanks again for clicking on the video. Don't forget to give it a like if you do like it. And without further ado, we'll jump into him and I's shenanigans.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready to be scared? You're not really a guy that gets scared easily. Like, I'm the one that's like, oh, ghost, meh. But you don't really, you're not really all about that type.
No, I get scared.
Well, you get scared of more like real life things than like scary ghost things. And so I try to get like a good blend of like different kinds of stories. Hopefully kind of like get you at all the different angles of scariness. So I'm gonna like be looking up over here because I have my computer in front of me. Don't play with the dog. You gotta keep looking.
This is what I'm afraid of.
So disclaimer, Jimmy used to be a truck driver, like a tractor trailer driver for a couple years, I guess.
More or less.
Like CDL license, all of that good stuff. And so I thought it'd be really fun to start off with a like kind of a newer legend with truck drivers and everything that's called the black dog phenomenon. Basically, legend has it that drivers who were up for extended periods of time would see a visual hallucination at night in the form of a large black dog darting out in front of them. This was their cue that they had pushed the limit and it was time to pull over and go to sleep, basically. Whether it had darker meaning, such as a harbor of death,
Harbinger?
there had a darker meaning as a harbinger of death, or it could just be like sleep deprivation and them seeing things and hallucinations. So there is a few stories that are kind of like trucker related that kind of has to do with that. Like, people question the validity of the stories. Is it the black dog phenomenon? Did they really see what they saw? So that's why I wanted to kind of like preface those stories with that. And I thought I'd hit you kind of close to home with some truck driving stories.
If we're alive to tell the story, that doesn't always mean death. So.
Right. Did you ever see anything driving before we start like in the stories?
No.
I never asked you that. Have you ever?
I mean, I did survive, so I guess I didn't see anything that was a harbinger of death. I hit a deer once.
First official story. I used to deliver hotshot freight across the Great Plains / Minnesota area. One night around 2 a.m. I was hauling across North Dakota trying to reach Montana by morning. I was delivering a particularly valuable tractor part that a farm desperately needed for the following day. I began to notice some highway hypnosis sneaking up on me, but it didn't really bother me because I had been through it hundreds of times before. Anyone who has driven across North Dakota knows that it is incredibly flat, like really, really flat. There also tends to be very straight and long roads. It is somewhat easy to see things on the road that are far away, even at night. I noticed something long on the road, spanning my entire lane, approximately half a mile in front of me. I slowed down a little and prepared to move into the opposite lane.
So it was across the entire road, but
yeah.
He moved to the other lane?
Basically, yeah, it was across the entire road.
Moving over wouldn't help, so he just did that.
Right, he moved up. Well, I guess like if you saw...
Maybe he is a little hypnosis there.
I guess like he was kind of like moving over instinctively to pass it. I don't know.
Just because, you know.
But he swerved into the other lane, successfully avoiding them, and came to an almost complete stop, but they didn't move, not an inch. So I guess he was going really slow, and then he moved to the left lane, and then moved
so then
around
he went
them.
into the oncoming lane and stopped.
Because you think...
And that's the right move to make.
It was completely dark, and he could have seen an oncoming car, I guess.
True.
I was about to back up and check on them when I remembered a story that an old gray beard colleague of mine told me. I don't know what that means. What's a gray beard?
He's an old fucking guy with a gray beard.
Oh, okay.
Old gray beard. You know, that's just a term we use. It's the highway hypnosis. Old gray beard. Whenever you start to be hypnotized, you think old gray beard.
It's like Lion King, and instead of like his father, you just see old gray beard. in the sky
What's that
talking
over
to
there,
you.
baby?
But yeah, he told me in certain remote areas, people would lie down in the middle of the road and wait for a car or truck to stop and see what's going on. At that point, the road layers, along with whoever else is hiding in nearby bushes, would beat the crap out of the driver and steal his vehicle, leaving him in the middle of nowhere. I decided not to back up, and when two people in the road saw me put my truck back in gear and drive away, they both got up, walked towards the shoulder, and then they called the police. And they don't know what happened, and they're really far from civilization, so they doubt that anything happened. I got these stories from Reddit, by the way. Basically, there's a lot of stories about this where it is like a thing that people use, like a tactic. They would lay in the middle of the road, and there's people in the bushes, and basically the person who's driving is supposed to stop, and they either like rob them, take their car, and just ditch them.
That would be scary.
Yeah, so there is a lot of people with similar stories.
I don't know if I'm scared here, but I would be scared in that situation.
Truckers know that this is what it is, and they run the people over. Yeah.
I want to see a story on that. So
Anyway.
Did he ever describe what it was on the street?
It was two people laying in the road, and basically...
Oh, it's people? I thought you just said
Yes.
like he couldn't make out what it was.
No, it was two people. That's the thing. It's two people, and that's what they do. They plan to rob truckers or anyone in a car, and so they lay in the middle of the road, causing the person driving to stop.
They had to be
and then
very
they get
tall.
out. It's two
coming
people
into the
laying.
road.
So you weren't scared? Oh, do you
I
want to
was.
rate the stories? Rate the
Yes.
story. Rate the story like 1 being like not scared and 10 being
1
like...
to 10 ghosts. I give
10
that-
being like, I'm gonna poop my pants scared.
So sitting here in this chair, I would have to give that a 2.
A 2? Okay. That's pretty fair. Solid 2.
Solid
All right.
2.
Uh,
2.3.
Okay. On to the
Round
next
it down to a
one.
2.
I was
With the
parked
drive
off an
home.
exit ramp about 3 a.m. for my 10 hour, which I guess is like their 10-hour break or something like that. The moon was full and high, and I spotted an unmistakably human figure in a nearby cut cornfield. A little spooky, but I just wore it off as an old timer putting up a scarecrow for the grandkids.
Old graybeard.
Yeah. I started watching a few YouTube videos before turning in, and out of the corner of my vision, I thought I saw movement.
He's watching porn.
No. I thought I saw movement. I shut my lights off to get a good look, saw the figure, but nothing else. I couldn't be sure, but it looked like maybe it was in a different spot. Maybe a little closer even. I was definitely feeling a bit spooked. The highway was devoid of anyone else besides a car passing every 10 minutes or so. I didn't want to, but I had to jump out to pee. I considered a bottle, but I told myself I was being childish. I took a look at the figure, and it was right where I figured it should be. I hopped out, walked between my truck and trailer, and started leaking. You can tell a trucker wrote this.
This is a fucking
Started
woman.
leaking.
It just started leaking.
Every fiber of my being wanted to look. I told myself again I was being foolish, but I couldn't help it. I looked out. The field was empty. The figure wasn't there. My stomach dropped. I pinched off and jumped back in. I took off down the highway, didn't give a...
Well, I feel like pinched off. That's like taking a shit. Like I pinched off. I had to go. I ran. So because he thought he saw someone, he didn't see someone. He was even more scared. Like he wanted to see someone. Would he be less scared if he saw what
something.
he thought
He saw something that he thought was a scarecrow, and then eventually he looked, and that thing was not there. Meaning it wasn't what he thought it was, and it moved, and he no longer had vision on it, which is even scarier.
True.
I looked out, the field was empty, the figure wasn't there, my stomach dropped, I pinched off and jumped back in. I took off down the highway, didn't give one crap about a violation, stopped 40 minutes up the road at a well-lit, very full Love's. Haven't stopped on a ramp since. Love's is a gas station, by the way, because I know there's different gas stations for different parts of the world.
But yeah, that one, once again, like I'm sitting here like, okay, cool, man.
It's a
I'm not very
segue, though,
scared,
into
but,
the
like,
next one.
Being in that situation, I have felt like I've been watched a couple times, and it's an uncomfortable feeling. I'd give that a 5, but since my dog was licking my feet, I'd say 4. I'm pretty relaxed right now. Not too scared.
Damn, Jenny, she's trying to ruin my game. Okay. But that was definitely a segue into the next one. The next one, I think, kind of like plays more into what our imaginations were supposed to do with this story. So around 2006-ish, I was driving flatbed, picked up a load of construction material, drywall, roofing, don't remember, but it was prepackaged in boxes. I remember having to strap the protectors on the load. In rural Tennessee, rural, I can't say that. I've never been able to say that word.
What is it?
Rural.
I can see that good.
Rural. Country Tennessee. Memory is foggy now, but I wanted to say it was between Memphis and Nashville. But a tarp was required, so I strapped everything down, tarped the load, and left the shipper. Whatever that means. About 5 miles down the road in the middle of nowhere woods on a 2-lane road, I noticed my tarp flapping in the wind, found a wide shoulder and pulled off into the shoulder to fix it. I realized that I just flat did a bad job tarping this load and decided to redo it on the side of the road. Undo all the bungee straps, drag the tarps off, roll them back up, climb up on the load, and start unrolling the tarps again. And I see a guy walking down the side of the road that I'm on coming towards my truck. So like you're on the lane and you're like on this truck and you look up and imagine down a dark highway, you just see a guy walking towards you so many feet away.
Couldn't have been that dark. He's tarping his load.
I don't think anything about it other than to keep an eye on him because I'm in the middle of nowhere and continue what I'm doing. About the time I have the tarp set in place and am climbing down to start hooking the bungee straps back on, this dude is getting close enough that now I'm paying more attention to him than I am tarping my load. I grabbed my winch bar and set it on the trailer where I'm working just in case. 8-pound solid metal bar about 4 feet long, tapered to a blunt point on one and hollow on the other.
Oh, yeah.
Used for tightening straps, chains, and beaten.
Or murder.
Random, yeah, or murder. The guy gets to me, and the first thing I notice is his hair. It's like a mullet, but patchy as heck. Like he tried to cut his own hair, had a seizure in the process, and said, "Forget it, good enough to party." The next thing I noticed were his eyes, which I can only describe as off. Like they were clear. I didn't think he was drunk or high or anything, but it also gave me the distinct impression that the elevator didn't go all the way up. Clothes were dirty and not well maintained, with dirty white tennis shoes.
So stereotyping though.
Well, he's just describing the guy.
He said the elevator wasn't all the way up.
Because of his eyes, like
pretty intense.
He had like an off, like I guess like a glazed expression, like. Maybe if he was looking at you, but not actually at you, just like towards, like if he was like looking a little bit above you.
And the other guy's like, dude, this guy's staring at me really fucking hard right now. Like, what if this trucker's a murderer and he's eyeing me up and I'm over here just trying to walk? He has his big blunt instrument that's 4 feet long, hollow on one end.
He's not holding it, it's just beside him. Clothes were dirty and not well maintained with dirty white tennis shoes because I remember that he didn't have laces on one shoe and the tongue was noticeably out of place, which probably plays into his assumption that the elevator didn't go all the way up.
The image of this guy's just burned in his memory. Like, I remember every detail.
He stops by me, waits until I acknowledge him and just says, "I've got a long walk." I'm like, "Yeah, man, you do. We're in the middle of nowhere." Making it clear there's no ride to be had here, he nods.
Hinting that he wants a ride.
Yeah, right? Like, "I got a long walk."
So, yes, you
and
do.
this guy's like,
you sure
"Yeah,
do.
you do, yeah."
Keep it moving. You smell like bologna.
He nods, starts walking by me, continuing on his way. Stops about at the driver door of my truck and turns around, comes back to me and repeats himself. "I've got a long walk."
What?
At this point, I explain that I can't give him a ride, insurance and all, and apologize for not being able to help him out. He seems to accept this, turns around and leaves. But that's not the last we see of him. I wait for him to get a little ways away from my truck and start working on finishing the tarp job. I still keep an eye on him and he's moving away from me. I'm putting the last of the bungee straps. I look over to check where he's at and he's turned around.
I got a long walk. Just appears behind me.
You're supposed to be scared. Boo.
This is terrifyingly funny.
He's talking to his freaking hand, and now I'm nervous because he doesn't look like he's having a nice, pleasant conversation. It looks like an angry conversation.
I fucking told this guy. I inferred it twice. I needed a ride.
Crank the truck up, put it in gear, and just pull out. Didn't look for traffic or anything that's dangerous. As I pass him, he's just looking at me, still holding his hand to his face with this dead-ass look on his face, just staring at me. Gave me the creeps. About the time I hit 5th or 6th gear, I look in the mirror, and there's no one there. I put a short comment that kind of was, I think, related to the story I just read, because on Reddit that's what people do. They like comment on the posts of people telling their stories too, and this one, going with the above one, is when I was around 12, me and my friend were in a forest jumping our bikes off a rock. We kept moving to find more rocks and a man with a baby carriage was coming up behind us talking on a phone. He stopped whenever we stopped and kept going when we did. He eventually started pacing when then I realized he was holding his hand to his head with no actual phone, still talking. The carriage was empty. Man. So I thought that was weird that there's like so what is with this?
That could very well be real. I mean, he only hit 5th or 6th gear, so he's going like 15, 20 miles an hour. He could have just latched onto the thing he just strapped up and got himself a ride.
That's true.
I mean, the story just stopped though. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
He disappeared. I didn't stop and look. I mean, it was
He was
dark
looking
out.
in his mirrors.
Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he just lost sight of him.
Maybe.
Or the guy got off the road because he's like, all right, dude didn't look when he pulled off the street. What if someone else is coming and is going to hit me? What if someone else doesn't look?
I thought it was interesting that 2 people had saw a weird man holding his hand up to his head, like pretending to be on the phone.
Well, I mean, if you're crazy and you know about phones, like, if you don't have a phone, like, you could be acting like you're talking on a phone. Like,
Are they
kids do
doing
that.
this?
No, like, they're probably actually like, hey, because they think they have a phone.
Okay,
They
because
don't.
yeah, I guess if you saw, okay.
Yeah, because then you just be purposely like, yeah, I know I don't have a phone, but I'm acting. But in reality, you're like, hey, I'm holding the phone. But I think we're getting off topic here. We're going on a tangent about holding fake phones.
And I thought it was cool. So what do you
Boosted up the
rate?
fear
What do you
factor.
rate the big story?
Well, all jokes aside, I think it was more funny than it was scary. So
Okay.
I would have to say that that was a 10 on the fear factor.
Woo!
Because I liked it.
I thought it was interesting too, and the fact that he has a mullet that's like patchy. I don't know why. I imagine him being a blonde-haired man for some reason, like very tan with like Hulk Hogan basically with the
Hogan.
patchy mullet. I imagine Hulk Hogan.
Hey, brother. It's a long walk.
Okay. Well, this is obviously
I'm very scared. I'm terrified
this is
of
obviously
humanity.
a fail. Thanks a lot. You are unscarable. Congratulations.
I'm terrified. And how
You are now crowned king of the unscarable.
the sovereign. Call me old graybeard.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed my attempt to fail my husband, even though it was a fail. If you have any cool stories that you know of, let me know. Put them in the comments. Let me know if any of the stories scared you,
I was scared.
or
I thought
what
she
you
did
would
a good
rate
job.
them.
Here's a scary story. I'm gonna come over and kill you.
No. I think I am gonna put this on YouTube, so subscribe if you want to see more stories. I'm gonna do, I don't know, random videos, kind of like this,
Like an
different
OnlyFans.
things. No, it's not an OnlyFans. I have ideas for all kinds of videos, so just subscribe so you don't miss any of those. And I hopefully see you in the next video I do.
Hey.
Bye. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for being here. Bye.